All right. Hello, and welcome to the next big thing. This is the introductionary video for all of your benefit to this Song of Ice and Fire campaign. The campaign will be played using the Song of Ice and Fire role-playing Game of Thrones edition rules by Green Ronin. The game setting is in the area of Westeros, known as the Dornish Marshes. It is the year of 1907, after Aegon's conquest. It's about 100 years in the past of the Song of Ice and Fire novels. With me here are a few players who will be playing in this campaign. Manaki will be the DM, and the Chronicle will focus on the players playing as members of a minor noble house in the area of the Marshes, as they maneuver the sort of political structure of Westeros in this time where there's really a lot of both internal and external pressure on the Marshes, the local area the players are in, and on the general political structure of the entire Kingdom of the Iron Throne. Playing this campaign will be Jonas, Tine, Grimith, Halldamir, and Dark Destiny Soul. Or just Dark, really. They have created a house using the in-system house creation rules. Sadly, that video was lost, but I hope we can summarize a little bit here. The house is called House Caladan. They are the lords of Winter's Respite, and their words are wreathed in flames. The house is located at the edges of the marshes and in the most eastern part of the Reach. Their liege lord at this time is Lord Leo Tyrell, called the Long Thorn. So let's get to character introductions then. I think that's what's most interesting. Jonas, why don't you start with your character?
Sure, I will start with my character. I will be playing Dessem Caladan, nicknamed the Blackbrush by some of his fans and derisive antagonists. He is the brother of the current lord of House Caladan, and he has been around for a while. He is in his upper 40s. Where to start with this guy? Yeah, he has been around for quite some time. He has always been with the house, like very close to the power of the house. He is I would describe him as a calculating and quite cunning type of character. He is very analytical. He is very, I should say, cold-hearted when he needs to be. He seems to be very much like driven to excellence in all things, and he's utterly dedicated to House Caladan and see it rise and fall. He has served the house for many years, ever since he took care of a slight of a problem of the house. We will get into that in a bit, I think. And is serving as the house sort of diplomat and spymaster. In that sense, he is similar to what I played before in the short introductory adventure we did for Ice and Fire. He's not a fighter. He is a talker, he is a plotter, and he's a schemer, and he's very good at that. Yeah, I guess I'll bring up more of his character as we go along with this video. But as a short introduction, that would probably work.
All right. Dark, why don't you tell us about your character?
Sure. Okay. Well, I am playing Laenys Caladan, or Laenys Caladan, depending on which pronunciation you wish to use. He is the second son of the head of the house, and at the current time, acting heir of the house, in a sense. He is 15 years of age, and, well, overall, he is calm and quite devoted to the idea he has in the head of being that it's his responsibility to try and get all this working again with events that have happened for our house. Though he is quite the fearful character, as you will learn. Overall role just being, well, he's kind of good at everything, better at diplomacy than everything else, but he can do a bit of this, a bit of that, and great at helping other people work together. covers some of the basic same things. Backstory, of course, we can get into more possibly as things goes on.
Sure. Well, Halldamir.
Alright, I'll be going for a slightly different approach to everyone so far. I'm going with the typical Westerosian, the Reach kind of knight. He is anointed and follows the house very closely. His name's Alaric, and is born of the family, but a lot further afield from the closer parts of the family tree, like Dark's and Jonas's character. He's very much the typical Reach knight, where he enjoys his tournaments and enjoys the ladies as well. And that pretty much sums him up very well. He's in his late 30s. I said 38. And so he's seen the world for its goods and bads. And he's recently joined the family, or not that recently. And he's looking to build his family back up to greatness. That's about it.
All right. Grimith.
Sure. I'm Grimith. I am incredibly famous and the most interesting man on the internet. I am playing Briyenn, Queen Bree, third and final child of Lord Aaron Caladan, aged 11, furious, rebellious, and irreverent. She's a bundle of murder and vengeance. You can totally trust her. She was abandoned by her father to Dornish raiders, but after 34 months of captivity, managed to escape on her own and make it back home. Her dad still doesn't think she's alive. That doesn't cause any tension at all. I will be quiet in this campaign, allowing me to backseat and blame everyone for the house's innumerable failures. I'm so excited. I pumped my fist for just now. It was great.
And Tina.
Hello. I'm gonna play Nima Rayyan. It didn't sound right, but anyway. Rayyan. He will be the house assassin. She is from Braavosi and is a water dancer. She is in a great debt to the house family. The uncle saved them from slavery. Laenys Caladan is the name of the guy who saved her, and has sent him to help the house in this dire time they are in.
All right. Well, that should give people an idea of the characters they'll be playing. But now a little bit more about the sort of things that you expect to be dealing with from the house creation phase. I think we'll just go the same sort of round, trying to... Well, actually, let's go the other way around. Let's start from the back. And then I will ask you to say what is one of the big things that you expect the house to be dealing with in the coming perhaps 4 or 5 sessions. Problems that you see your characters having to potentially face. Tina, why don't you just continue on and tell us that?
I'm pretty freaking sure that House Peak, our nemesis, is gonna be the first one to jump at us, since they have the Triumph card. Yeah, Gormy. At least that's what I expect. That's gonna be okay.
Any particular way you expect to see them threaten you?
Well, Dark didn't say this, so I'm not sure if I can say that they do indeed have the real heir to House Caladan. They have his older brother. In what we see in quite a pity situation, he's a knight for that House Peak. and he is coming of age, and the I don't remember the name of the leader of the house. What would you call him? No, no one's gonna help.
I am finding his token right now.
The head of the house.
Head of the house. Thank you. His mind is not in a good condition. He is kind of mad,
Yes.
and we're kind of just keeping him alive to make sure that House Peak is not gonna take over our house, because they have the heir. So no matter how mad he is, at least he's alive. There he is.
Look at that guy. Who my
Holy
is?
shit, that's great.
Who's that little
So
girl
that
over
is the
there?
current Lord
My
Rahal Caladan.
Daughter is dead.
No, she's right over there.
He's a strong man of sound mind and skill.
Mm, mm.
This is very apparent.
Not at all a mental wreck, living off drugs and.
I'm sure we'll get to all of that though. As I asked Grimith, what do you think will be?
I think one of the reasons why you have placed us in this region, Manaki, for after all, this is not the default setting of A Song of Ice and Fire. It's not how Green Ronin depicts it, but they do suggest in the narrator chapter that one way you can avoid being within the same time period as the famous characters is to play in a different era. You've placed us into a melting pot of different sort of cultures like clashing together, specifically the Dornish, who until quite recently have not been an official part of the Seven Kingdoms, despite Aegon the Conqueror and the rest of the Targaryen kings claiming them as such. There are plenty within this region who are not Dornish, who would like the war with Dorne to continue, and there are many Dornish who would like the war to continue as well. We currently have peace reigning and encouragement to perhaps throw down our weapons, which would result in the loss of status for all of us Marcher Lords. I expect to be thrust into situations where the uneasy peace we have is going to be thrown in flux.
Halldamir, what do you think would be challenges that the house will have to face?
I would probably say I'd agree with like Grimith. I see maybe not in the next few sessions, but possibly right at, by the 4th or 5th, we're going to see possibly some war breaking loose. I don't see the Tyrells starting anything because they like their Tawnies, and Tawnies slow down when there's war. And where the Stormlords, they tend to like their war, and the Dornish always like their war, so I think we're going to see that a lot. Other than that, we're definitely going to have some issues with Peak. I can see in the near future. That'll probably be our first thing. Is House Peak trying to mess with us? Don't see anything else on the horizon that's obvious.
Dark, do you see anything on the horizon that could be a potential problem or issue for House Caladan go forward?
I see us starting off. There's a few ways it could start, but one of the things I'm thinking that might be the case is due to the way the house's history has been and the state of our land, possible banditry starting off as an early thing. But also, I'm expecting subtle political maneuvering from the other houses, getting ready to pounce on what is quite clearly an upcoming situation with our lord, but more subtle than the full-out wars everyone is expecting for down with Dornish. But just my idea.
And finally, Jonas.
Well, I agree with what people have said so far. We have a lot of problems in the house. I think one of the first thing that we will have to sort of handle in some way are we have a bandit problem, and we have Oh, it's Mr. Cole. And
Wow,
we
he
have.
looks fucking sinister.
I totally trust this man. He's my friend. We have a bandit problem that could be taken care of or try to taken care of. That would secure our lands a bit more. The problem with our house is that we are somewhat in decline. We are in a situation which is very precarious. Our heir is kidnapped by another house. Our lord is crazy. And if Peak presses a claim, it will be very problematic for us. I hope that is not the first thing that's going to happen, because we're not really prepared right now to take care of Peak. Same with Dorne. I certainly hope there won't be a war, like all-out war, because that might be the end of us. Dornish raiders might be. They are still trying to stir up feelings and emotions, and trying to even if there is a peace, a little bit of looting and raiding, and when no one is looking too carefully, might certainly happen. So yeah, I don't know. I think the first order of business for the house is basically trying to solidify its hold on its lands a bit, because we are in a somewhat anarchic situation. So I would personally look more closer to home for issues that we need to deal with, and expect Peak to come along down the line, maybe in game time, maybe a year or two or so from now, when our lord's health maybe declines further.
All right. Good. Interesting things. Now, I think perhaps going through a little bit of the house history would be a good idea, to refresh it for everybody, and of course to give people sort of an idea of what happened. I don't know if any one of you would like to read up some of these things, or if you delegate it between you. Discussing some of the house events.
I think if Jonas did the fourth one, because that preludes to him.
Oh,
The
right.
fourth event, I think
Yes.
that would prelude to you. So other than that, free for all, I suppose.
I mean, we could handle it as we did whenever we rolled for the historical events.
I suppose that makes sense, that you could each read up what you rolled. If you remember what you rolled.
I think was that the first one, bro? I think.
I don't remember who was first, actually.
I don't know. I don't think we have that. We don't have that written down. Anyway.
It's not specifically written down, no. I
No.
just assumed that everyone would remember theirs. I remembered mine. I know what I caused.
Yes, I remember what Grimith's one was, and I remember I called the negative one, which means I had to do the first one. I think.
Or the next to last.
No, that was definitely Jonas. He described the whole
Right.
villainous situation.
Yeah.
Well, Dark, why don't you start then?
Okay. I guess I will just read out what we have here for it. When our house was founded upon a scandal. For it was right after Aegon's conquest. During the political maneuvering during Aegon's conquest, the power structure of the Reach changed profoundly. The newly raised House Tyrell found themselves in a position of one of their young women having premarital relations with one of Aegon's commanders, Laenys Caladan. And to the horror of the Tyrells, produced an heir. Though the child would have been conceived out of wedlock, it was still very dangerous, and so to cover up the scandal, they shore up their own claim. The Tyrells bought him off with some title and some land, far away from Highgarden.
Indeed.
It was a house
This-
built on scandal.
And this does mean that our house is not as old as many other houses. We are not among the we're not on the same scale as House Hightower, which has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. We are 200 years and change, something like that.
197 AC is what date it is, so we would be less than 200 years old because we were established with the invading army, correct?
That is correct.
Yep. So we're just shy of 200 years old.
Also worth saying that we actually have a fairly strong connection to doomed Valyria, as Valyrian blood has been shown to run through our family quite a bit, actually.
As it stands, our family came along with, of course, Aegon the Conqueror himself.
Mm-hmm. Very prestigious. We even got a Valyrian blade bequeathed to us during that time.
Yes, we did.
And it's still in the family.
And Dark's character also having clear signs of Valyrian blood.
Some would say madness.
Who said that? Was that you, Mr. Cole?
Draw sword.
It's like, no, my lord, of course not.
No, of course not.
Tina, why don't you go ahead and read the next one? The first of the favors.
Sure. Favor. During the Dance of Dragons, House Caladan sided with House Tarly against House Peak and successfully used their rare sapper knowledge bought from ancient Valyria to literally undermine Peak's holding. This earns them the favor of the crown.
And the enmity of House Peak.
Mm. Yeah, we blew their shit up, basically.
We dug giant holes, collapsed the holes, and crumbled their walls.
Yes, Caledanians used their ancient sapper technology in combination with House Tarly's archers to basically cut down like House Peak's amazing fortifications. And House Peak has been an incredibly powerful presence within the region, and their family has not forgotten this little fucking piss-ant house.
I know, they
having
remember.
its way with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, Halldamir, you go for the next one.
Sure. The next event was a favor. During the conquest of Dawn, House Caladan was selected to steward over Highgarden during the absence of Lords Tyrell and Tarly. Much to the consternation of Lord Peak, our house did a good job and gained further favor with Tyrell, shoring up our protection against Peak's ambitions.
And this is Daeron's conquest of
Yes.
Dawn, should be said.
Now, if memory serves, the current Lord of House Peak, Gormian, he was alive during that time whenever our house was selected to be the steward, correct?
He was probably very young.
I do believe so.
I believe that's what Manaki said during house creation,
Yeah.
considering he's an aged man.
So he remembers that this little that House Caladan once more swooped in to like steal his thunder, as it were.
Let's see, that was roughly like 45 years before campaign start.
I believe so. It's sort of ended about 30 years ago.
Okay.
So he was young, but he was alive, certainly. And he certainly
which
remembers
case-
it as well.
In which case, that makes both mine and Jonas's character old enough to remember that. They would have been kids.
I might
would
even
remember
be born in Highgarden now that I think of it.
Possible. Possible both of us were.
Back then, when
Way
things
back
were
when.
really good, going well. Stewards in Highgarden while Lord Tyrell was away. I mean, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then Jonas, what happened later on?
Well, the sort of favorable times took a turn for the worse when the rule of Baelor the Blessed and his peace was upon the land. Baelor the Blessed was, of course, a very moral man. He supported the clergy, and the clergy supported him, which also meant that the church became very bold. This is the Church of the Seven. And their claims to moral superiority rose ever higher, and they started to sort of try to dictate the comings and goings of the different houses and people of the Seven Kingdoms. In particular, our house, the current then Lord Aaron Caladan, had a brother, his older brother or first brother. I'm not sure exactly what we did we say him as older or a bit younger? I forget the family
Older.
tree. Older. His older brother, Lorne Caladan, was a man of quite a low moral fabric, and basically got fed up with the clergy trying to preach to him not to, sleep around and enjoying himself in like drunken stupors and brawls and murder and like petty tortures of people. And he basically said, "Screw it! I am going to purge these bleating priests from my presence." And he basically became an exterminator of the faithful, and started a pogrom against the faith on our lands. This resulted in much suffering because he was quite brutal. It was a bad scene. Basically, blood flowed on the streets. Not that we have many streets, but blood soaked the land. And Aeron's second brother, Orenus Caladan, was fed up and he fled. He said, "I have had enough of this shit. I can't stop this maniac. I'm gonna leave." And so he sailed over the narrow sea to Braavos, where he managed to set up a small merchant operation. The villain had to be stopped, and it was ended when my character, Dessem Caladan, basically took it upon himself to end this nightmare. And in a slightly botched assassination attempt, took the villain Lorne down. The resulting brawl was quite fierce. I mean, Lorne was much bigger and stronger, but Dessem did manage to catch him sort of unawares in the bath, and more or less stabbed him to death with a dagger. In that melee or that brawl, Dessem himself got very injured. His leg, tendons in his leg got cut, and he was bedridden for months until he was able to walk again. He still has a limp from those days, and he leans heavily on a cane when he walks around. But for his sacrifice, for becoming a kinslayer, he basically saved the house and our lands from the villain's predilections. Also saved his older brother Aeron from the dungeons where he was tortured by Lorne. Quite the sorry story, and we're still a little bit reeling from those days. But with the villain dead, we all thought that at least now the worst is behind us and we can go back to sort of govern our land and become a successful house again, right?
Well, another thing that happened here after the defeat of Lorne, he had actually imprisoned and tortured and hurt a lot of the guards who refused to act upon his orders and refused to go against the faith, leaving many sort of open positions in the castle, and so he had invited all sorts of villainy who would do whatever he asked for a little bit of coin to the realm. After his defeat, however, these people thought that the new leadership wouldn't like them very much, and so they ran into the countryside, still staying there, working simply as local bandits, very well rooted into the area, calling themselves the Lawn Men, after their then patron. Still plaguing the land today.
Yeah, and something we definitely want to try to take care of at some point.
The Seven, however, hates kinslayers, as it happens. They frown upon such things with great fervor. Halldamir, what happened most recently in the house's history? Oh wait, Grimith.
Grimith, yeah.
I'm like fucking like Halldamir, like all right, not my problem. Yes.
You're responsible for this, Grimith.
As a matter of fact, I am. I accept that role into my heart, and I think it's made us all better characters and made a more enjoyable story for it, right? Okay, so 10 years ago, in 187 AC, the Seven Kingdoms were on the precipice of peace. Dorne was about to formally join the Seven Kingdoms through the marriage of King Daeron II's younger sister to Prince Meryn Martell, after which the prince would swear his fealty to the Iron Throne. And as King Daeron II has been a large proponent of peace, Gormy Peak knew that he only had a limited window here. Our liege lord, Leo Tyrell, was busy afar, and House Peak decided, in the wake of the villainy perpetrated by Lorne Caladan and the resulting confusion and weakness brought on by its Lord Aeron Caladan, that this would be the time to exact vengeance for all of the numerous slights, both true and perceived, that this little upstart piss-ant house had done to the mighty and prestigious House Peak. So they plotted an invasion, successfully executed, stormed House Caladan's lands, and brutalized, really wrecked our ancestral castle. Perhaps if House Peak had been given enough time, if peace had not been looming, Gormy would have prevailed, and House Caladan would have maybe been destroyed. But Leo Tyrell returned, and our liege lord took a look at the situation, said, "This isn't exactly what I had in mind while I was gone," and managed to rescue House Caladan, but not without cost. House Caladan didn't really get reparations. House Peak managed to abscond with all of its glorious bounty that it had won in the war. Population either killed or, relocated. Power, our military having been destroyed, and a bit of coin. But what harms and humiliates the house the most is that House Peak took the firstborn heir of Aeron Caladan to properly educate. Leo Tyrell, our liege lord, thought that was a great idea. Him being a knight and most chivalrous, thought that House Peak's strength would help to educate and create a leader who could better lead House Caladan and thus better serve the Tyrells. It is not an event from which House Caladan has really recovered. The invasion sent our lord Aeron into an even greater tailspin, and it wasn't until within the past year, 14 months, that our ancestral castle was actually repaired. The damage it had sustained was grievous, and it was only with a recent influx of wealth that the engineers were able to be paid and the stone was brought in, and happy days for everyone.
Indeed. The first session of play will begin 10 years after this invasion. So a good peace happened. 10 years after the peace that happened between the Dorne and the Seven Kingdoms, and the sort of annexation of Dorne by the Seven Kingdoms. Annexation that happened very much on Dorne's terms. Dorne getting special rights, having to pay no real taxes to the Iron Throne, and giving very little except for the acknowledgement that there was a king. Yeah, King's Landing. Something that many people who have to pay full taxes and who don't get special rights don't really like, as their ancestors have fought and died and bled in the sand down there on other kings' commands. Yeah. If you haven't done so, you can show people the local map here and the overall Westeros map, and and then I suppose we can do a little bit of free discussion if there's anything else you think people might be interested in knowing about. I per se don't have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Should we, what do you think, Jonas? Delve into, the 4 core elements of our character, like the goal, the motivation, the virtue, and the vice?
Sure, that seems like a good idea. Flesh them out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Did you, want to have, links for, character, sheets and, stuff in the video description as well?
We can fix that, yes.
Okay.
That shouldn't be a problem if anyone wants to take a look. We'll put a link to a view-only version of the house sheet, I think.
I do believe I set that to view only. After the whole house creation live broadcast instance.
Yeah, as well. We'll take a look at that.
It is indeed on view only by link.
Okay.
Yes, I made sure to have it set to invitation.
Okay. So I guess I can start talking a little bit about my my dude here. Dessem's goal is power. He wants power for himself and he wants power for the house. It is almost the same thing to him, although he does definitely put the house before himself. He has sacrificed much for House Caladan. Like he became a kinslayer for this damn place, you know, and he is determined, let's say, to see this house endure and to get revenge on Peak and like everything that has happened. He was very much alive and very much remembers the Peak invasion. He remembers the loss of Queen Bree and like all of the other horrible things that have happened, and he is adamant that this will not go on. Like it will be restored. Power must come back to House Caladan. Like that is imperative to him. As such, he's very devoted. That is his virtue. He is devoted to this task. He thinks on it almost constantly every day, and he works tirelessly for it. His motivation is excellence. He wants this to be done. You know, if it's worth doing, it is worth doing well. Is usually what he considers the the state of things. And yeah, he damned if he's not gonna get this bloody house righted again. He does feel very responsible for the house, being almost the only other adult around, you know, that has some form of formal power over the house. His brother's children being much too young still. The maester is just he's a maester. He's helpful and all, but he certainly can't rule the house. And the same goes like for the other like NPCs that currently inhabit the castle. He feels very much responsible for everything, and this weighs very heavily upon him. And so he's quite grim, you know, from time to time. His vice is arrogance. He thinks himself superior to most other people, if not in status, at least in intelligence or cunning. Which, you know, his stats would probably back up. He's very good at those things. But it makes him a bit arrogant, which can make his temper difficult to control at times, especially if he were to run into someone from, say, House Peak. That might definitely push his buttons and make him lose some of his reservations, and probably unknown exactly how that would turn out, but probably very bad for everyone involved. But yeah, he is devoted to see Peak in ruins and House Caladan rising. Other than that, as I said, he's not a fighter, he's a talker. I have built him as such. I don't ask him to fight or run because he can't do that. Like that's not what he does. The old war wound has him limping around with his cane. Although the limp is actually, and this would, like the rest of the characters would know this in the group because, you know, we live kind of close to each other here. You would know that his limp is actually partly faked. He's actually not, he doesn't need the cane as much as he pretends he does. And he can sort of suppress the limp for a short while to sneak around quite proficiently actually. When needed. He can only do this a short time though, and then he gets aches and has to rest for a bit. But that is something he has used from time to time to sort of creep around and listen in and sneak around because he, you know, a bit of a spymaster. Let's see anything else. Oh, I can also say he has a flaw, a disturbing habit that is like he's an artist. That is how he expresses himself. But his art is always flawed in some way. It's like horribly macabre or disturbing, like sinister, and he can't really help it. And so he's sort of famous for this very like avant-garde, like a type of art that he creates. And he actually is in fairly high demand. He's selling a decent chunk of portraits and stuff. But they are very sinister. He has keen senses, very good at seeing details and stuff. And he also has a raven, a white raven that is his friend, and is quite smart. He has like taught it to speak and do tricks and stuff, and it's been his companions for several years now. Yes, he also has a wife, Agatha, that he loves very much, and she loves him for all intents and purposes. Yeah, I have rambled enough. That is Dessem.
It was sufficient rambling, I feel.
I don't think you rambled quite enough yet.
Not enough.
Oh,
Not enough rambling.
keep rambling. The Lord wishes it.
Speaking of the Lord, our perhaps future Lord.
All hail.
Yes.
All hail.
It seemed like good order.
Dark. Tell us about Laenys.
Yeah, Laenys.
Laenys. Or Laenys. Depending on who you are. Tell us, Doc.
You guys over-pronouncing things can just get a bit frustrating sometimes. Anyway. So yes, for my character, his goal is not power, much like Jonas says, but instead security. For himself, but also just for the entire house, as whilst it's definitely a significantly shorter life compared to the more adult characters, the house isn't, for his entire life, the house has not been well. And everything has gone badly. Everything. And he doesn't want that. He wants just the house to be safe and secure. He lost his mother. His father is going insane. Or gone insane, depends how you put it. We had an invasion. For a while, he was the only child left, with everyone else, with all the other children taken by either raiders or House Peak. This is not what he wants. He wants the house to be secure and almost like the legends again, just not having to be afraid, not having to be worried, much like he is. Which brings me, of course, onto his vice, which is he's craven. He is deeply fearful of a lot of things, so much so he even has the drawback of being craven, where being put into pressure, sometimes he just can't manage. Though he certainly tries. For his motivation is duty. He feels that he is the only one. Well, his brother is gone and become a knight, and he can't expect his little sister to do it. Meaning, he has to put the responsibility on his shoulders to try and pick up the pieces where his father is collapsing. He's got to be the one to do it. It's his responsibility. It is the duty to keep the house's honor together, to keep, well, everything together. So he doesn't do this for himself, though as much as the security is something he wants personally. He does this for everyone around, and very much so. He helps people around him far more than he helps himself, being his virtue is charity, or charitable. That is both his family and just he will help out many people he finds in needs, be it other nobles or just various people he meets having trouble, except House Peak. But that said. So,
That was it.
next.
Well, I'll go with a clockwise pattern.
All right.
My character, being the typical Westerosian knight, is he is driven to a goal of mastery and skill. Mainly fighting, warfare, being a commander, being the man on the battlefield that everyone looks to for both commands and for inspiration. In this, he pushes Laenys a bit too much sometimes to try and get him out of his craven habits. Sometimes it's a bit much, and the young heir to be tends to withdraw from Alaric, and as me and Dark have spoken before, have said that sometimes he would even start avoiding Alaric if he pushed too hard. He's middle-aged man who has seen many things. Wars, well, not wars, but skirmishes, tourneys, and all of this motivates him to become to his mastery, his motivation being excellence. If he's perfect in command, then he can protect the people he loves and the people that serve under him. His virtue's courageous. He's never one to shy away from anything. This shows in day-to-day life. His vice being he's slightly over-ambitious. Sometimes will try and get to do something a bit too ambitiously. Will put his hand forward to join a grand melee, even if it is not his place to say so. This has gotten him into some trouble, but other times not. And although some people see this as a vice, others might not. That's pretty much my character there.
All right. So, as I said whenever I described my character earlier, Briyenn is furious, rebellious, and irreverent. Vengeance drives her. Her goal is revenge. Revenge against a particular house, House Will, who she believes is the primary culprit behind the Dornish, the primary patron or the driving engine behind the Dornish raiders who took her captive. She wants to see them absolutely crushed. Her motivation is hatred. She is furious at these Dornish men who shattered her childhood dreams and ripped her with the shards. She cannot escape her past. Her agony is constant. Maudlin melodramatic story, but the fact remains that she used to be a lovely, happy-minded, reach girl who wanted to sew and dance and attend court and balls, and now all she has are the broken ruins and remnants of what she used to be because of the Dornish men. She will not cease until House Will is utterly ruined, the entire river will salted and then evaporated and just bled out so that it's non-existent, and that their history is erased, which is a lofty goal for an 11-year-old girl, but she figures she's got time. At her best, she is devoted. There are a few things that I can't say she loves, but she likes. And in that instance, she is committed. She can be petulant, but she goes all in with her thoughts and her emotions. And no one can say, truthfully, that Bree is not a driven individual. And she does have the best interests of House Caladan at heart, in large part because she knows she can't defeat House Will on her own. She does have ties to her family, and she does like most of the members of her family. But she knows that in order for her to satisfy her goal and her dreams, the dreams that she has, it is with her house, and that is to crush House Will. And, maybe some Dornishmen along the way, too. But certainly House Will. That is at her best, which is not saying a whole hell of a lot when you've got this 11-year-old, petulant, manipulative, guilt-tripping murder girl. At her worst, she loses control of her emotions. She tries to control her anger. She relies on status manipulation, that guilt-tripping, to get what she wants. And she knows that her position is tenuous. She is the marked girl of a deranged lord, and her demeanor is unbecoming of her stature. But she does not always succeed. She handles failure poorly. And she is so consumed by hatred and anger over her life that was ruined, that any slight that she takes has a possibility of setting her off, which she can't do a whole hell of a lot. She's only 11. She can't, like, use her words to, like, ruin people. All she has are her hands. She learned quite a bit about defending herself while she was in the clutches of the Dornish men. And her hands are so leathery and always bruised, and she will end people with them if that's what it takes. That's all she has.
Yeah, also because her deranged father, Aeron, doesn't really recognize her anymore. Like, he is...
Yeah, Aeron Caladan, Bree always feels as if she was blamed. One, for killing his wife, maternal death, and then, obviously, right after she was born within the year, that was when House Peak invaded. And so all of the family fortunes just, like, took a tumble there. And maybe it was Bree's fault. Obviously, from the cradle, she masterminded everything. Peak's amazing sorcery. And so, whenever Bree pleaded to, like, go along to, like, a peace festival in Wyronwood, Aeron Caladan's like, yeah, sure, you can come along. And then, Bree's confident that her dad never loved her. She thinks some nights that maybe, especially given his attitude, the fact that he thinks she's still dead, that he might have been responsible for those raiders, or at least that he knew and did nothing. She's not entirely sure, but she is definitely unfriendly towards him, which kind of works out well, because he doesn't acknowledge her presence, which has made her even angrier at him, hoping to elicit a response that she never gets. That's me done.
He's crazy.
Yes.
When Tine is done with her character, I'll go through the 3 NPCs here.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, cool. Well, Nima's goal is security. Being kidnapped by slavers does that to you. Been through a lot of horrible experience with these slavers. Really has broken her down to the fact that she is haunted. She can't sleep well at night. She wakes up very early every day because of the experience she's been through. And her motivation is fear. He just is driven by fear to never go back to that hell that happened with the slavers. I think her virtue is magnanimous. She has worked with a lot of people, so she is very generous and forgiving when it comes to who she has to work with. Vice is prejudice. When you get on him's bad side, she becomes downright unpleasant. Because of what he's just been through with the slavers and all those high male lords just sitting there on their ass and letting all this happen. So when she is in a bad mood, it is male high status people she tends to give the fault of. But to get out of this bad mood, she remembers of Laenys Caladan, who saved her, a high lord, who got who helped her, not by buying, but freeing, really freeing. He didn't buy her. Or him.
So I have 2 questions.
Shoot.
One of them, you keep saying he, she. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Nima was born as hermaphrodite and keeps changing. It depends on. She was told by I keep getting his name. Orinus, that in Westeros, it is definitely best to be a male. So he told her to be a male in Westeros, because that is where Westeros is a place ruled by males. But sometimes when she is comfortable about other people, she becomes more feminine. And as a hermaphrodite, she does have female curves, but no bosom whatsoever. She cannot grow a beard, but is pretty tall. But most of the time, she is gonna be a male. But if it's only friends, most of the time she spends with Bree is gonna be more feminine. Because she can relax and doesn't have to think about the whole gender roles and people looking down on her. She has come to the part that she doesn't really care what people say because she has already heard the worst from those slavers.
And so why have this unlikely assassin traveled over the seas to get to House Caladan?
Well, she has spent a lot of time with this Caladan, and he has told her about his troubles with his family back in Westeros, and has asked her as a favor to go and help. And Nima sees that this is a great opportunity to pay him back for what he did. He didn't have to save him back then. He didn't have to break her free, but he did. So this is a great opportunity to repay House Caladan for the generosity showed back then. Before, I didn't say much about her background. I don't know if I should do that or not. Or if that should just be a surprise.
You could take this opportunity to do it.
Well, I'm just going to say she because it's extremely difficult to keep saying he, she.
Go Swedish. We have a word for both.
I don't. English doesn't have a word for
I
both.
bet it does. It's just not something that's commonly used.
Well, Dark doesn't know it.
No, English generally doesn't. No.
People have tried
I
making
don't
up
know.
words, but none of them have stuck.
Yeah. People always make it up, but yeah, nothing's really hit it. But anyway.
Nima was abandoned by her parents because of her, what they say about she's abomination. Was taken into an orphanage, not a very good one since Braavos. But the moment she could leave, she did and started stealing. This male water dancer took pity on her and took her in as a pupil. Very famous water dancer. He taught her to become a water dancer. She's very skilled at it. Unfortunately, the time when the leader of Braavos died and the new one was picked, her master unfortunately had quite a lot of say in that matter. And when a new leader is chosen, a lot of assassins are involved. To basically whoever is standing becomes the leader. So her master was taken down by assassins, and she was left with no protections whatsoever, and there were too many to go against. She became a slave and basically worked as this abomination slave for many years until Laenys Caladan saved her, and he somehow got a hold of her master's Braavosi blade and freed her from these slavers. And the rest is history.
Sure. I will then begin with, if there's no more questions, that is.
I mean, one we could always bring up is the fact that, Jonas, you have a little friend next to you.
Yes, that's my raven, Kvaler.
You do know that's very close to the Danish word strangling.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do that on
Exactly.
purpose?
No, I have named him after a another famous bird in mythology. I think. I remember the name, not where it's from, but I thought it was a cool name, so I stuck with
Sure.
I like
Sometimes
the
it's
name.
better not knowing
it.
names, particularly.
my raven friend, Strangler. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
he has like a little noose around his neck, like a tiny noose.
There's a house that would very much think that was stealing their trademark.
Oh,
Yeah, there is.
Oh yeah.
Also, one thing I
House
forgot to
Trent.
mention is Alaric does have a son the same age as Laenys.
Yes, I
So
assume
that's
you will put a token down sometime for.
yeah.
yeah. Dessem also has. He had 3 children. He only has 2 now. A son who is out training in the Citadel to become a maester, and a daughter who is married off to a lord, a minor lord, or an anointed knight of House. Was it Appleton? I need to check. I need to double check. But she's married off and not really around.
I guess it's also only fair I explain the white hair and purple eyes of Anna's or Laenys' deep Valyrian blood, which hasn't shown itself in many generations, but now it has. Once again, quite a distinctive marking.
Your father always had white hair as the only one of the 3 siblings, but he did not have purple eyes directly, and your mother certainly did not have a drop of Valyrian blood in her when she lived.
Certainly the strongest it's shown in a long time.
Yes, that is very true. And about your father, the good Lord Aaron, he used to be a quite a good man, but while he was tortured by his older brother, then inherited after all of this, then lost his son, his beloved son. He always favored the oldest one. And that's probably something your character has felt as well, that after losing him, he was never really the same man. He's always been looking, sort of sitting there. He used to be very invested in his children back when the oldest son was still here. Now, no longer so much. Losing Halen was very hard on him. He still sits there looking at the places where Halen, as a kid, would have played and such. Clearly just thinking back to those moments in his quiet time. But then he remembers that he's no longer here and he grows somber. He is prone to extreme migraines, back problems. He has some fingers that are very stiff and bent because of the hard torture his brother put him through. For some brotherly rivalry, or maybe just for sheer sadistic madness. And he is a broken man in many ways. When House Peak invaded, he did as he does whenever a large problem appears. He thinks about it for a little bit, then his head hurts so much that he cannot think, then he either passes out or receives medicine from Maester Cole to put him to sleep until the problem can be forgotten and dealt with by someone else. He, when he sort of nowadays walks around, he usually does so with a cane, and he usually does so in places that are quiet, or at least rooms quiet when he comes in them, as he just looks around, almost in a daze, almost always affected by some sort of medicine to keep him calm, slow thinking, and dull-witted. He rarely sort of speaks much, but when he does, it is usually of better times in the past, memories, or just complaining about his physical health, or mental health for that matter. If pressed hard enough, he will have a fit of anger, where he lashes out violently and angrily, showing that there still is much strength in his body that just usually is left just under the surface. Whenever this happens, Maester Cole will hurry forward and give him something to drink to calm him down, the Maester almost always being at his side. Maester Cole, sort of a very common sight at this point, has done a little bit of the stewardship business. He has helped teach the children how to read and write, and do what ruling that they can. His specialty, however, has always been the healing arts. He's a master of leeches and even of mental health. He's very interested in these things, and he certainly sees Lord Aeron as a unique potential and possibility for learning what these sorts of experiences can do to a mind. And he spends a long time in his maester's chambers with the Lord, or in the Lord's chambers, really, concealed away from anyone else who might just be happy that Aeron is, well, a little more out of the picture than he otherwise would be. The Maester, as such, is kind enough. He has sort of he's slightly unnerving with all the leechings and the sort of conserved body parts and whatnot you'd find in his chambers. But other than that, he's kind enough. Usually a little aloof, a little focused on his medical procedures and such. Doesn't take many other things very seriously, and, well, those who have spoken to him will know that he still sends, attempts to send book pages and the like to the Citadel by Raven sometimes when he gets the chance about the discoveries or theories that he produces at the side of Lord Aeron. Rising up perhaps to the most grandfatherly or most fatherly person in the keep to many of, especially the young, would be Galt the weaponsmith. He is a kind man. He was a soldier of no real note in his younger days and learned to smith because there was simply a need for it. When he was injured, his eye put out, he could no longer really fight optimally, and he chose instead to, well, sit down, have a family, work as a weaponsmith, and trade which he has become very good at. He is a stout follower of the smith, and he, in the absence of other religious figures, is probably the most prominent one that is still here. The villain some time ago, killing all the septons, septus. Galt managed to survive it, mostly because he is very, very good at what he does, and even the villain thought that it would be stupid to have him killed. He also does not preach very often. Going down to his forge, you will usually find him making something or other, repairing armor, doing some maintenance work, even making horseshoes, though he thinks of that as a little bit of an uninteresting piece of work. He always has something to do, and he is almost always up for a friendly talk or a bit of grandfatherly vague advice while doing it. Do you have any questions about these three NPCs? These are the prominent people around the castle.
I will also put down a token for Dessem's wife, Agatha.
Does
I think I misplaced it somewhere. I need to look through my folders to see if I can find it again.
Yes, that beautiful portrait that Dessem painted of her, where she looks so fucking unamused. So Galt has been around since effectively like before Lord Caladan and before the villain.
Yes, he used to be started out as a guard here.
Okay.
He is local, does that matter? But due to the lack of other people, he began taking up the smith, being a smith apprentice, and well, as it turns out, helping in the smithy and learning, he has spent disappropriate amount of time there and has gotten quite good at his craft.
So, like,
so that
his expertise has come from, like, just him having done it for decades, rather than him, like,
very
fun for, like, you being
yes.
trained. Okay.
Yeah. He had a good master smith, and he certainly also sometimes taken gone with you other places to really learn from local experts and the like. He does like his craft, as is that he was originally a soldier, something he didn't really particularly like. And this simply seemed to be his calling.
He
So the military work.
he does seem to have a like mind for new solutions and stuff, and he's the guy Dessem turned to when Dessem needed a weapon that also needed to be concealed. So Dessem is actually has a sword is inside of his cane that he can draw in case if needed, and that is something that is a result of Master Galt and his expertise figuring that out.
Sorry.
He's a man who loves what he does. And he's generally one of the few people who could be said to be happy with his life.
In this entire household, yeah, probably.
I just imagine when Nima came to him with her metal blade being really old and dull, his eyes would just have been shining. The Braavosi blade. Not a horseshoe!
He will accept the challenge and do what he can do.
The Braavosi do what with these blades? Fucking. All right, fine. It's like throwing like the trash bin. Let me get another one.
No!
Probably learn. Yeah, he could probably make another one if need be at this point.
No, he needs to. There's sentiment with the old blade.
Is Maester Cole a recluse to the rest of the family, or is he? I mean, is he readily available, or does he like?
No, if you went there with some problem, he would certainly be available. He is a maester, thereby by chain sworn to serve the lords of this sort of keep. He's bound to the castle, really, and those who inhabit it have his services. That is the oath he has sworn. He specializes in medicine and healing crafts, and perhaps even with Dessem's leg, he has been one of the reasons that it is doing quite well, because he is marvelous at his craft.
Probably was one of the reasons why the leg wasn't taken off.
Yeah. He very much is a proponent of leechings for most problems.
But
The idea that bad blood runs from many different reasons, and sometimes it needs to get out to reduce pressure to such things.
would his disconnect or lack of socialization be due to arrogance, or simply because he just doesn't think like I have all these other like things like the healing stuff, like it's just not interesting to him?
He generally is not very interested in day-to-day goings on, which most people sort of deal with. He will certainly. He doesn't chat much about. Many ordinary things don't interest him, and he would probably talk more to you if you knew about the kind of things that he was interested in. He simply feels a bit of the lone academic in a household where no one else really shares his passion for, well, what he cares about. He's not unkind. He simply has a slight disinterest in most of what else goes
All right.
on. He will talk when the situation bits it, but he takes his work very seriously, and he's a dedicated man. Smart as well.
It would be difficult to ask for better, given the demands that the Lord of the House would place on an individual.
Yes. He himself has never said that it is a fortunate situation, but he certainly does not complain about it.
How much does the Lord of the House do and decide around the place?
He doesn't really do a whole lot. At this point, the guards and even the maester has begun, although he does bring the news, generally first to Lord Aaron. Most news just puts him to sleep, and so he brings it to Dessem second. His brother acting a bit of a well. It is likely an arrangement that Cole has made with Dessem, that he would take some of the responsibilities off the shoulders of his brother.
As far as Dessem is concerned, I mean, Aaron is his brother, and he does love him, but Aaron is long gone down the road of madness. Like there's nothing left there. Maybe if our heir was returned, maybe if his favored son would once again walk the halls, he would sort of, quicken and revitalize somewhat. But that seems unlikely to happen anytime soon.
So is that like a recent revelation that Dessem has had then? Or has it been like something that's just like settled in after the invasion?
That has probably settled in over the years after the invasion. Dessem looks upon his brother with pity. Like he feels bad for how far he has slid away, but he is also like adamant that he is trying to get his brother away from influencing the house too much, because he doesn't think that any influence he would have at this point would be a good one.
So Dessem thinks himself that his brother is incapable.
Yes. In his current state, he might have been capable at one point, but in his current state, Dessem would not entrust much to him.
Mr. Cole might have edged this on in the idea that it is more merciful to let him live a simpler life by taking some of these harsh responsibilities of a lord that really he's in no condition to take care of away from him, and then instead, let him rest, let him sleep out, let him have as little pain as possible. He is a man who looks and acts much older than he actually is, simply due to his injuries and his fatigue with life, the many blows that he has suffered through time.
I have a sort of like I suppose like a law question here, although I'm not entirely sure how this works out since I'm unfamiliar with the Song of Ice and Fire. And so, like, due to incapability, if Maester, like, if the Maester said, if he actually, like, blunt out said, like, he's incapable, like, Rule needs to, like, transition to, like, the actual heir of the house. What does Dessem do?
If that is said out loud to Dessem, then he would go to Maester Call and say, first of all, that is not his call to make. The law of the land is the law of the land, and as long as the Lord lives, he is the head of the house. There can be an acting head of the house if the Lord is sick to take care of things, but don't you even speak about that, Call, because the second Aaron is gone, we are gonna have House Peak barging down our door to try to put their
Healing or
ward,
whatever the fuck.
yeah, their ward back in control here, and then we lose. Then House Caladan is going to be forever subservient to Peak, and that is simply unacceptable. We will not have it, and Dessem is prepared to go very far to make sure that is not a thing. And this is also part of his plan. Like what is important here is that Laenys actually becomes the proper lord of the house. That the second son must inherit, and the first son must not. Or maybe the first son can inherit, but then all influences with Peak must be cut and purged somehow. Like some sort of loyalty to House Caladan must be requickened within our long lost heir. Because currently, all that stands between us and utter ruin is this frail old Lord Aaron. So yeah, Dessem would have looked at Maester Call and looked him in the eye and say, "You keep him alive. Whatever you do, you keep him alive."
Yeah, because as long as he's alive, technically, you can stand as like Lord Regent over him.
Basically.
Well, in Game of Thrones, when a lord, even if he is dying, he is still seen as Lord of the House. It is not until he has drawn his last breath.
Yep.
The Lord of a House is a title you generally hold until you die.
Okay.
However, upon being declared incapable, you will generally have appointed by whoever is in the power to do so.
Okay.
A acting regent. Generally, that would be the direct heir, meaning that if such a thing was to be spoken out loud and heard by people higher up, someone might have a say that the direct heir, Lord Aaron's oldest son, would have to be returned to the castle to take up rule in his stead as his official heir.
And that
All
would
right,
no
that
doubt
was a question.
bring like a whole freaking contingent of Peak soldiers with him, to ensure that the
Well,
Lord is.
we don't know how much influence or pull like the kid has. We can't say that like House Peak would directly support like his backing.
I really don't know. You do know that he is knighted and lives in their household, but beyond that, he has not visited home once.
Dessem will have also told you guys that he has never been allowed to speak to him, even though he has tried.
either through letters or something.
All right. That was my curiosity there, checking to see like if like this highly like trained maester who is like who's practiced and specialized in this just so happened to blur. He's incapable. He can't rule. What would happen?
He probably could say something like that, but
The likelihood's low
But
because
he's
they're
as a
sworn to the
maester,
house.
he is sworn to the castle and the people living there
Okay.
and their interests.
See, I thought it was more along the lines of being like sworn to like the family, like in general, which may include like the firstborn heir who doesn't live.
No.
Okay.
This also means, however, that if the castle is taken and someone else sets themselves in here, he will now serve them. And
All right.
so
Maesters are sworn to
the
castles then instead of houses.
Technically, I mean, he probably still likes us. He's been here for a
Probably,
while.
yeah.
You know, we know him.
Yeah.
Like he's,
But that is the
But
oath,
you-
at least.
Yeah,
Serves the
you would
lord
think-
of this castle, whoever that might be, to the best of his ability. That is what he has sworn, and if he were to betray that vow, he would likely lose his chain.
Okay.
Which is like the worst thing to happen to a
That
maester.
answers something else for me. That I didn't know maesters were sworn to castles. I thought they were sworn to houses from the Citadel. Okay.
Is his chain impressive?
It has a lot of links of different kinds of metals. So it's not really something you have a great knowledge of. What would be
No,
what?
but me as a person.
Is it generally
It's
a
a
large
nice chain. A lot of them are medically related.
Doesn't he have Valyrian?
No.
Ah, too bad.
Sadly, he's.
if he had, we would keep hold of that guy. But nope.
Oh yeah,
You are not going
you ain't
anywhere.
going. You're coming with
I
us.
studied magic. No, he would not waste his time on such things. He studies the natural medicines that are proven to work, such as leechings.
Oh, that does make sense.
Who is most leeched in the household?
Uh,
Except the
well,
Lord.
That might be Queen Bree.
Yep, I was thinking
had
that.
rage fits, which could be caused by bad blood. She has probably been leeched more than a few times.
That would put 14 months later, that would probably help to also explain her dislike for the Maester, whom she thinks is artificially keeping like her father alive to just for his own like nefarious like research and papers and shit.
It could seem that way from someone who has a cynical view of what he does.
Yes. He's so aloof and distant, you know, she sees him as arrogant.
Jonas, I think I found the portrait, by the way.
Okay.
Alright, chat.
You know? She doesn't get the big deal with House Peak. She's 11.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
Wasn't really around a whole lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Point. She has, it's like almost like there are more important people who've heard her.
Yes.
Times.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yes, there she is. Fair Agatha.
That's fair, Agatha.
She's the acting lady of the house. She was, however, born flowers, which means that she is a bastard. And the love affair between her and Dessem was definitely very passionate. They married out of love, which you know.
What?
What?
Whoa, I think that was
You can't
God's
marry
time.
out of love. Flip this fucking table.
Fucking love? What?
It is generally hard to get a match for a third son.
You don't say.
What? Oh.
What?
Damn, that was some
Same.
hardcore bit.
No, most first sons just give up, you know?
Or they're always the retainers of knights, and the children of knights. They generally could perhaps marry a third son if they were very pretty, or bastards of a more important house. Third sons and knights retainers and such are good sort of low nobility. You can pawn off some of your lesser desirable family
They-
members on to
Or
read you a
space
little score of spares in case of emergency.
And
The
so,
older dudes often take another kind of roles in order to become bigger, like taking an oath of some.
Knights, sort of honorable knights are very good because they can rarely really say no when a lord offers them
Well, and they're never gonna
A
get that big of a position.
a sixth daughter who has a little bit of a dull mind.
Well, they're never
Say
gonna
no.
get a better position than their older brother.
that said, Agatha does not have a dull mind. She can fairly well keep up with Dessem. And
she was lucky to be born a bastard.
Mhm.
She was allowed to.
And their love is genuine. It's true. They have had some tragedy, in their life, of course, because everyone has. The third child was born very sickly, and the act of birth almost killed Agatha, and basically Maester Call at that point would probably been something like, "Oh, you shouldn't try that again, because next time she might actually die."
He saved her.
Yeah, he saved her. And so Dessem definitely likes Maester Call. They are good friends, so to speak.
That is really, really sweet.
And Agatha and Dessem are very much love each other. And she is one of the few people who actually, can stand up to him without him being very angry. And she also advises him on art. Certain pieces he maybe shouldn't show other people and stuff like that.
What is her personality like?
She is outwardly very friendly. She is very proper. She is well aware of her bastard-born status, and she has worked very hard to sort of trying to supersede that. So she has learned the etiquettes of court. She knows how to act and be the lady of the house. And in recent years, she has definitely been forced to act the part because there has been no other lady of the house. And so she helps in that way in the day-to-day runnings of it, like keeping the household in check and running properly. She takes care of much of that.
Cleaning and cooking and making sure the servants do what they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
She sounds like the kind of character I would just love.
She's
She's
very
lovable.
She is very likable. She has
Always
been.
be strict when she needs to, but
Oh yes. She
expects the best from all.
She can be harsh, but she's fair. And at the heart, she's a kind woman. But as you said, sometimes the little Queen Bree needs a scolding, and she can deliver it.
Though Queen Bee might say that she's not her mother.
That has probably been shouted a lot.
Yeah.
Hear it echoing through the
like what are you
castle.
gonna do? Take it to the Lord of the House? Like that is Brienne's primary guilt trip motivator.
I just
the person who could put her in place is the Lord of the House. But he thinks she's dead.
Perhaps Agatha has a soft spot for the girl and does feel sorry. And she has lost a child, and she's also growing probably into her older years, where people tend to soften up.
I just kind of imagine
I imagine
like
there's been some problems there, though, at the return of Brienne, where she did not really conform to.
is she the kind of woman who would force Bree to be in an acorn dress
Probably would like Bree to be in a dress.
with acorns on?
It is more proper, and as she herself has done, the way to fight your birth is not to fight it, is to sort of embrace it a little bit. It is to live and become what they say that you could not be.
I kind of imagine Sir Alec and Nima just sitting and talking about fighting, and then suddenly we could just hear Bree, "You're not my mother!" And so he's like looking at Nima, and she's like nodding and goes to get Bree. I'll go get her.
I should have stayed in the waist.
Maester coming out of his room with his long white gloves.
Do I need to get
What is? Dessem nods. Yes, please.
Alaric's like,
time
"I'll
for
get
another
it."
leeching.
The money I took rebuilt this damn house.
As she is gagged.
Heavy gauntlet goes over her mouth.
I
like,
think
"Shut up,
Nima
Bruce."
can handle it without gagging her and using leeches. It's just like, Bree, let's go fight.
I believe the little girl's actually quite good at wiggling out of a grip and punching you in the face or grabbing your hair and
clawing at your eyes.
Said also that
if she doesn't want to go, she generally makes it very painful for whoever tries to force her.
And it should also be said that Nima has been teaching Bree water dancing.
Yes, Bree, Nima is the only person I know train. Nima is the only person who Bree trains. Yes, exactly.
Trains fast.
Nima is Bree's, at least as far as Bree's considered, her only friend. She's the only person who's received the friendly disposition. She's the only player character whom Bree does not resent. It's not entirely fair, speaking as one player, that my character resents the other characters for a background event that they couldn't be around for, and considering how Caladan is the lord of the house, logically, we were looking at rationally, like, she shouldn't resent any of your characters, and she does try to get past that and beyond it, but she still feels as if she was wronged and her dreams were crushed, and that all of the other characters, except for the Braavosi assassin who wasn't around, were responsible. And considering how Nima has been friendly, Nini has been friendly in return, and teaching Bree's that's the person she respects. And that would be the one person who could calm Bree down, and Bree would just sort of like deflate and like, fine, fucking leech me, I guess.
Perhaps another reason why Nima is being kept close to the sort of head of the family, as no one really wants to deal with the rogue sort of Queen Bree, whom they don't have the right to hurt, but can't really easily deal with without doing so.
The guards like awkwardly like look at each other like
They really don't want to deal with it.
Well, Nima seeing Bree basically just saw herself and just nodded, and I can get through to her.
Something Dessem is also very happy, like very, very thankful to Nima for. Is like, yes, please take care of Bree. She needs help.
Saves lots of silver stags and leechings.
I can just I just picture Alaric seeing Bree kicking off a guard or something. He just walks over, picks her up under the arms, and just carries her to Nima and just drops her down and says, "Deal with it." Walks out.
That presumes you can pick her up.
I mean, that said, it should also be
losing
pointed
a
out, I think, like we have said before, that for all the anger Bree has, she's not like a berserking murderer.
no.
It would be whenever she perceives to be wronged.
Yes. It the vice is important. Like, we all have our vices. Her vice is wrath. That is when she's at her worst. Normally she understands her tenuous position, and she wants to improve the house as much as she thinks she can. And it's whenever she's triggered effectively that she loses control of herself.
Dessem, being a little arrogant, sometimes might think that, she can't really help it. She, after all, is just a girl.
Yeah, she's just a child, a baby girl, really. And he has, there've been some scoldings over the
Nima's
past months as well.
eyebrow just twitches a little when he says that. you don't
She's,
see
of course,
it.
just a foreigner. She
Yeah,
wouldn't
she's just-
understand
Yeah,
the way
She's just a Braavosi.
You
barbarian.
can tell by her headgear. She wears that most of the time. It's only when she's training with Bree that she takes it off.
All right.
All right. And because it is not easy to train with. It gets hot.
And also, I would say something. As I said with Alaric, Dessem probably relies a bit on Alaric because he's the other, like, grown up in the in the castle that hopefully can help him keep these crazy kids in check. He
The
has.
only grown-up
Nima's
non-foreigner.
He has-
26.
Okay, I thought
Not
she
a
was.
kid.
I thought she
No,
was
no,
way
no, no,
younger.
no.
Okay.
No,
Well,
no, no.
then he, as I said, he has entrusted Bree to Nima, and consequently he has entrusted much of Laenys, like training and stuff, to Alaric.
You do notice that with all this entrusting with all these kids come running to Nima.
Alaric is certainly also not very popular with the local farmers and such, because he's popular with their daughters.
He
Sometimes
is.
lies.
Look at him. Look at that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
He has a jawline you can club seals to death with.
So has he ever been like called or asked for like accountability for the things he's done?
no, he's more of a he flirts, but everyone thinks that he does more, and when in reality he just keeps it at flirting.
Yeah.
Very rarely does it ever go past that. But
Okay.
everyone
Perhaps in his
just gets
youth,
in.
There are no
might be
evidence.
there might be a few flowers around
Aw.
that he
Perhaps.
just doesn't know about. But I mean, no one can prove anything.
Planted a few flowers, huh?
Technically, they're not flowers unless he acknowledges them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It's out planting. Oh, I see. Tending the
exactly.
garden.
But no,
Something you
Alaric's-
say in High Garden, you're tending the garden.
yeah,
That
tending
is
the
a,
garden.
that is a thing that people say.
Mm-hmm.
High Garden
Yeah.
is a place where young knights go to be part of the court and to have fun with all the young women who also go to be part of the court. It is almost expected there. It is a very sort of liberally
And young
experimental
men of
place
the court.
for the young.
Yes,
does-
it's a lot of. It's like
does-
college years, you know.
Does Dessem know
Basically.
that him tearing so much on the kids about doing this and that they talk a lot to Nima about it?
I mean, he would expect as much. If
Because both me and Grimith both have friendly relations with Nima.
you know, that's fine. I would put like Dessem to be like he is probably friendlier to people than people are to him because he is again he's a bit of a
It's
taskmaster.
disturbing.
Like he needs to pressure people around him to get them to do what he thinks they need to do because we need more power and it needs to be done well, etc., etc. And so he is pressuring a lot of people around him to do things, and that certainly influenced them. For instance, he is on Laenys constantly to do a lot of things.
I know.
Who's the character who's not very good under pressure.
Yep.
His relation to Master Call might also have been improved because his own son sort of has probably spent a lot of time with the Maester. Very fascinated by the things he was able to do and tell him.
Does he have dragon glass?
Made him want to go to the Citadel.
Does the Maester have dragon glass?
No.
Uh-huh.
No reason to have that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, he doesn't
Has
have the
scalpels. and
he didn't have the Valyrian. Gotcha, I
he
forgot
uses
that.
Scalpels and knives and even like a bone saw too. You know, that sort of thing. He has
Right.
glasses with all sort of conserved like body parts and things for his studies. He has a cranium on his shelf, skull. He has, you know, like maybe like a skeleton. So those, he has sort of jars with leeches and some snails and stuff that he can squish and whatnot, and of course herbs and such in his room.
Right. I forgot that he didn't have the Valyrian.
A few books, maybe like one on like cosmology, astrology kind of thing, where you can read the stars and such. He's not very much into omens, though. He's much more into the more tangible things like medicine.
I mean, we can pronounce your name Octopus Man for all I care. Halldamir.
That's what the that's what the ladies call him.
Alaric, octopus man.
Alaric.
Alaric.
Yes, sir. Alaric. the
Alaric.
Octopus.
Alaric, yeah. Alaric.
Well, if you say it enough, we'll get
Yeah,
used to it.
yeah, everyone will get it.
Unless you constantly
So
like if you
Alaric
oscillate
says,
between the two.
Alaric says, Alaric.
But now it
Alaric,
doesn't.
Alaric.
You said it so much
Alaric.
now. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything anymore.
I was told Nima was a top name.
Nima.
Nima? No, that's
Why is
pretty,
it tough?
that's
I'm sure we'll get into some crazy things once we run out of easily pronounceable names.
Oh, probably.
And you'll have NPCs who will slaughter just about everything, because that's what they do.
Ah,
there-
yes,
there's-
the person from Gis who is called something with like 17 Zs in there.
No, I'm more thinking we're probably going to run into small focus like named Bob. You know, that's
yeah.
kind of what they're
Lost.
Done.
My name is Ben Stone.
named. They're like, oh, sure.
Oh, I like
I
that.
think that would actually be a bastard name.
Yes, he
the
would be from
Irie.
the north. Yes,
Yeah.
not from the north, but you know.
Yeah,
north
that
of
The
here.
Vale.
North of here.
Yes,
The
yes,
Vale.
North.
north of here.
damn north.
Trident.
There's a lot north of here.
Yeah, there is.
Southerners, Dornish people.
South of here is a bad place.
Highgarden is still a pretty warm place though.
Let's
Oh,
not
yeah.
talk about
And it's
south.
very warm. You basically,
The regions-
never wear anything but light summer dresses and like
Right.
Dessem,
I've got
sand in my vagina.
What?
talk to the Braavosi.
What have you been teaching her? Dessem would look to Nima.
Nima
What
would
stories have you
shrug-
told her?
Would shrug and
But
I
we-
do not know.
But Bree walks
I
around
did-
singing that all over the
I
courtyard.
did not teach her that.
Substituted
Alaric
the
just
water
wants-
for sand.
I ain't dealing with this shit.
Uh,
Well, every night she will share a beer with Alaric.
Galt, the weaponsmith, if possible.
Sure.
If he's allowed to go into
Of course he is.
Yeah. How does Galt still
he's one of our most-
practice with a sword?
No, he's let that go. He likes them more for what I mean. He always liked armor and such. And that's really why he became a soldier, because that was the only real way to get his fingers on it. But he always liked more to look at it and like think about how to make it and shape it and just the different forms and functions of metal than he liked actually sort of wearing and fighting with it.
He must have lost his shit when he saw Nima.
He
Not
also got
only
a
does she have
spear stabbing through his eye.
Ow.
Spear. So he was lucky to not die, and he doesn't really want to throw the dice again. He's perfectly happy not fighting.
He must have lost his shit when he saw Nima. Not only does he have a Braavosi sword, but she's wearing padded armor.
Yeah, it's not really his field.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, what the
Metal
fuck's that leather
armor.
shit?
You're gonna
architect,
die.
engineer, made and measured like the full plate that Sir Alaric wears.
It has a little sort of in the corner of the breastplate has a little bit of his signature.
It's like, what does his like stamp look like?
I don't know, but it's there.
All right.
So I imagine all of the sort of NPCs on display here have more or less the run of the place. Like, of course, Galt can come and go into the castle as he wants. He's one of our most loyal servants.
Yeah.
He's been around since fucking Dessem was a kid.
Yeah, no one doesn't remembers him.
So,
Wow.
He probably has a beer with him from time to time. Sit down and talk about the old times and all the things that went down.
You remember when you had two eyes?
And he looks at him. Do you remember
That
when
was
you
actually
were?
a worse time than now?
Do you remember when you were
Everything
stabbed in the knee? Like, oh,
Walk without a limp.
Also, does that mean that Galt would know that your character's a kinslayer, Dessem?
he might.
He might be one of the people who actually helped arrange the affair.
one of the drunk, one
Up,
drunken night, he's just like, I killed my brother. you know?
Maybe helped cover it up a little bit.
Yeah, probably. He certainly is sympathetic to the house's needs.
And also, sympathetic towards the whole don't kill every religious figure around. Right?
Yes, he also does not like it. He very much is a fervent believer and practitioner of the seven, especially.
Don't show him your art.
My art adorns our little chapel in the keep. It is beautiful.
Does?
It
What?
does. I have
all these
paintings,
stylized
yeah.
pictures of.
It is
I have,
creepy.
I have a picture of every of the seven up there. People say it leaves them stunned, and I take that
Mother
as a
weeping
compliment.
pus.
The stranger literally coming out of the picture frame to snatch her soul.
People don't go there.
Alaric tends to prayer in his room.
Yeah, they
pray.
do, but Agatha has hung drapes over the the picture, so
Little
they're not.
curtains.
Yeah, it's like just don't look behind the curtains.
There's just one string that closes all of the little curtains to the paintings right at the entrance, so you can just walk in and go, yeah, I don't want to see that shit.
Sure, you can put down a token. Details.
Default closed.
What was that,
Yeah,
Jonas?
it's default close.
Yeah, no,
You can put down a token if you want. That's fine.
Galt has a little bit of a shrine in his smithy to the.
Does he want a
to the
portrait
smith,
to
and
the- to
and
the-
he also dedicates his work to the smith. He says he's only as good as he is because the smith smiles upon him with his.
Does he want a painting of the smith? I can provide.
No, he actually thinks that if you make something, you should make something that is functional and. sort of-
So he looks down upon Dessem.
Not really. It's art as well is the work of the smith, but he would not. He basically wants this to be his
Right. The
Like
shrine
shrine.
devoted to the smith would be
personal.
best served by something functional and personalized.
It should be a portrait wrought from iron.
But he will certainly think that your art, good as it is, comes from the smith, and that the smith is helping you produce it to help you in your life. Maybe to tell you something, or to give you an outlet, or to...
If it's supposed to tell me something, I don't like what it's telling me.
Your house is fucked.
It's
maybe it helps drawing the past history. Maybe in them you can see a way for things to be changed.
Maybe you shouldn't pray to the crone.
I also imagine
She's
actually.
the lady of old ladies who protects those who are feeble.
I also actually, now that I think of it, probably Maester Cole might be interested in the mind producing some of those paintings, because they are certainly very disturbing.
Yes, but he would not presume to analyze you.
Of course.
That would not be his
Yeah.
best interest.
No, I wouldn't enjoy that either.
Why is he into that?
He's very interested in mental health as well as physical health.
Nima's not gonna tell him she's a hermaphrodite.
He probably knows it.
What?
Oh,
She's a hermaphrodite? Shit!
He has read
He's
about. Yeah,
I was right about that.
yeah, he has read about that.
Everyone can know.
I have a link actually. I forged.
No.
It's
Gender studies link.
mhm.
No.
Very short course.
Critical
Have you
gender
considered
studies.
leeches?
Leeching could solve your problem, Miss Nima.
With enough.
No.
With enough leeching, anything is possible.
That's a visual image I've decided that I don't want.
But he certainly mostly keeps... he doesn't really intrude on anyone. He has Lord Aaron, and he's content with that for his... for helping keeping the Lord as healthy as possible and as happy as possible.
I also noticed that young Everin Caladan certainly has inherited his father's looks.
Yeah, Tina clipped
Yeah.
about that earlier.
Yeah.
A real heartbreaker, that one.
Is he around here, or has he been sent off to Squire or someone?
He's going to be sent off to Squire soon.
How old is he?
14, I think I...
Which is just the age to start squireship.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's suitable for
Looking
squiring.
for a knight, perhaps?
Yeah, we're looking for a suitable knight for him to squire.
And then he can go to some place and court around until he can have a few bastards, and then marry off to a minor noble lady after winning a tourney, or doing well in one, and then he's pretty much set up for a decent life at her father's court.
All he needs is a lady telling him that she wants him
You know.
to wear his favor.
Sort of thing.
And he's set up.
That is the life of a knight. Bachelor years, then you marry, and then you have some kids, and then you hang out and serve whatever lord you married, whose family you married into.
Alaric's in that awkward phase where his wife's dead, and he's just trying to fix the family now.
And she didn't really have a castle, so he's kind of at this one. He's sort of his cousin's, I believe, castle.
It's kind of awkward.
It's not the great position for a knight, but he has never really had the chance. I mean, in his prime time, there's been no real war.
No.
Only slight skirmishes with bandits and the like. And this dude, Leo, the Longthorn, his liege lord, has been winning every damn tourney there has been. It's quite frustrating time to be a knight in, because it's very hard to prove your worth.
Yeah, we have the Longthorn, we have Gormy in House Peak.
Yeah,
who's
he's doing very well as
this
well.
aged, super veteran dude.
He's strong.
Yeah, we have the Dondarians next to us. They're also good knights.
That was going to be one question I'd asked before we closed up shop, Jonas, would be whether you showed them the location of our castle compared to Peaks 3.
Yeah, I have looked at it, but we can look here again. If I zoom in a little bit at the eastern part of the reach here, over here is Respite. That is our castle. Winner's Respite before, now it's just Respite.
Recently repaired.
Recently
Thanks to-
repaired.
Thanks to a treasure trove of gold and gems and other luxuries.
Dornish gold brought back by the long lost daughter of the house,
I-
which was certainly much rejoicing.
I loved rolling that 6 for improving defense. That was great.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. Next to us is Harvest Hall. Baron Selmy is occupying that one. We have to the north the Appleton. Appleton. Are those the one we hate or not hate, but
Ashford is the one that Manus
Ashford.
has a nemesis with.
right. North of us is Ashford, which Laenys has a bit of a feud going on with. To the west is Millstead Hall, Banner House of House Caladan. Helmbreaker Hall after that. So we are surrounded by not really enemies. We're sort of on good terms with most of these people except the Ashfords, which we really don't like. Because their second son stabbed our second son in the throat, and our second son almost died from it. So that's not good. But to the west we have the hated House Peak under Gorman Peak. And they have 3 bloody castles: Whitegrove, Dustinbury, and Starpike. Motherfuckers.
Starpike being the main castle that they're
Why did our ancestor decide to side? Oh right, Dance of the Dragon, motherfucker.
It turned out to be a good idea. I mean, everything considered.
I mean, when I think about it like that, sure, we joined the winning team.
And over here is Highgarden with Leo Longthorn as the current lord of that place. But yeah, Peak is big and powerful, and luckily we are sort of surrounded by allies who's kind of shielding us.
You are a minor house. House Peak would be a major house. They're very influential in the area, and certainly one of the most powerful martial lords. Lord Tali is very powerful as well, but that is more because of his skill, discipline, and influence, while Peak has sort of a lot of raw power to them. Simply to the fact that they have the power of almost 3 houses.
And we
Always
are
backing them.
and we are on good terms with the Charlies,
Yes.
generally speaking. So they're also helping us, keeping Peak a little bit in check for us. Hopefully that will be enough, and we don't get invaded in the first week.
Lord Karen is also currently the Lord of the Marshes, and he is very much a proponent of peace in the land, with Dorne and with the Marshes.
Yeah, he wouldn't really be happy with
No, would not.
stuff like
Agatha's
that.
not a Flowers anymore. She's a Caladan.
Yeah, it's true. She was born of flowers, now she's a Caladan.
Her name is
It's
Flowers.
a step up.
Yeah, so that should be changed.
Yes.
I gave you the token.
Yeah, about a little thing about Appleton. I believe they are the one of the 2 only families who currently have a ruling lady instead of a lord in the area. The other one being the Tor, all the way down in Dorne, pretty much as far away from you as we can get.
Oh, the 4 having a ruling lady. My goodness.
Hi,
Matters to a lot. Myria Jourdain.
Appleton, yeah, House Appleton. I like them.
Mhm.
I really like them.
They have a lot of apples.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's Grimith.
We're friendly with
Let's
go.
Appletons.
We're going.
What is
there.
it, Tina?
We're going. There.
Okay.
They have apples and leading ladies.
Yes.
Apples. Yeah.
Road trip. Oh wait, the last road
Actually, dear
No, I
niece,
don't
wanna-
last time you tried, it
Um,
was
How about you go and you tell me how it was?
You know
actually
I can't
if
leave without you.
if someone were to suggest to Bree that a road trip was gonna be a thing, would she? Like, does she still like fear? Like,
She's not afraid of it. She would. She just knows better now.
okay.
The lady Elaine Appleton is actually very young and unmarried.
Oh,
How young is that?
Of the,
Why
she's in her like 20s.
we should.
She has a sort of a disinherited uncle as her mostly regent, taking care of a lot of the business, who's very possessive of her, and have not allowed anyone to sort of officially propose to her.
If only my character had a penis. Damn it.
We
Her-
know a character.
her
We do
parents
know
died,
someone with a penis,
in
though.
I have a
in
penis.
fighting Dorne. Actually,
No, you're a foreigner. It is absolutely improper.
Well, that's where I rule because I'm a foreigner.
So she is known for being very aggressive,
Oh my.
and certainly not a friend of Dorn at all.
I'm not born.
Okay.
Although her family does not have a lot of military prowess, they are fairly. I mean, they earn fairly well. They are not actually. They don't really have as much of a keep as a town, a bit of a city of Appleton. That they rule a lot of population, a lot of production, a lot of sort of wealth.
Money. Yeah.
Not a lot of general military power or a lot of fortification. They have a little sort of a keep hall in the city, but it's not a very fortified position.
Maybe some sort of
So
alliance
what
could be made.
What she doesn't have in soldiers, she has in apples.
She has a lot of apples, yeah.
They'll just throw apples, like burning apples,
Lots
at
of
like the
orchards and
invaded.
That's what took care of House Kiwi in Age of Heroes. Was.
No, don't say that.
So, is there anything else that should be discussed in the 20 to 30 minute long intro video?
It's 2 hours almost.
People can just not listen. But is there any other questions you might have? Because then ask away.
And if you, the viewer, have questions, you can post them in the comments and we'll keep an eye.
Then Jonas will keep an eye.
And then he'll bring them to us if there's anything.
I'll post them
He's
in
the
the
only
chat.
one- he's the only one who gets the
We
message.
do
That's
we
not my
want
fault.
in this video to say something about when we are going to have the sessions and stuff?
Probably.
You could, but it doesn't really matter to me.
I mean, it's
I mean,
that's up
it-
to you to like inform people. Like, you don't need us for that.
It's
Alright.
pretty close to the time, so we might as well.
Okay, well, we do intend to start this off very very soon. Forsaken Throne is wrapping up as we know at this point, and the plan is for Song of Ice and Fire. Do we have a name for the campaign, or is it just the story of House Caladan, or
Sure. Call
Okay.
it that. Call it whatever you want. Song of Ice and Fire. We don't really have two of them.
the House Caladan Chronicles? We do have 2 of them actually.
We do have to. That was awkward.
But yes, the House Caladan Chronicles, it's gonna, as it is now, replace Forsaken Throne when it ends, and we are generally gonna run it on Saturdays at the Forsaken Throne time slot, I do believe. So basically, when Forsaken Throne ends, House Caladan Chronicles is gonna like start right up in that slot. We couldn't wait that long, however, so we have decided to start a little bit early. Which means that the first session is going to be played and broadcasted live on the 4th of November, which is on Wednesday.
Which I'll also probably mention is 2015, people. Just in case.
Yes, it is also 2015, if that's some...
Look at the time this video was uploaded.
Yeah.
I have the
yes.
clock open right
You're
now.
very slow.
Very slow upload. It will be at the normal session starting time, which is 8 p.m. GMT plus 1. And that is 7 p.m. in the British Empire. And I think that
I mean,
is...
parts of the British Empire.
No, well, I mean, part of
well,
Great
yes.
Britain. Great Britain. Let's do it that way.
And
I'm gonna enjoy this.
and I do believe that is
Like 2 p.m.
2 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern time in the US,
Yes.
and midday lunchtime on the West Coast.
Yes, our DST ends this Sunday, so I will be back to being 6 hours behind Manaki.
Australian and Chinese viewers might want to rate for the YouTube video.
I do know we have a few out there actually.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
you know,
7 p.m. GMT, you guys can figure it out from there, I'm pretty sure.
Mhm. There will be links and information in the description below.
All right,
that's all logistics Jonas will handle.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed.
not my
Yeah,
problem.
I do not touch
Exactly.
logistics. Don't worry.
Tell your friends we want as many people on this as possible.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
it's,
they want to watch. Really.
It's going to be great. It's going to be based in the Game of Thrones universe. Everybody,
It's
Nice.
gonna be bleak as all hell, and
Nice.
we
it's going to be miserable. We're all going to die.
I will be uploading a video of my own to slap onto like a playlist for the videos that are uploaded to Halldamir and Rahal's channel, and might take the time to do some vignettes for my character,
okay.
as I did with Rillinid.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Oh, villain it.
Okay.
You stared at me when I was sleeping.
I think that's it.
What
Might
makes you
not.
think my character doesn't do it that now?
Because you told me that your character would stare at my character when she was sleeping.
That's true. That's true. I did confirm that. But what
You
makes you
did?
think this character won't?
Brienne just shows up in.
Well, my character's haunted, so sometimes she's just.
And then fall right back into like a sleep from shock.
Yeah. it's one of those. It's one of. I don't understand it. I'm so tired when I wake up. I don't know what's wrong.
Deadly gasps right after one another.
Cole's
No,
just
my
Maester
character,
Cole
that's
is just
weird.
like, you need some leeching.
No.
Have you considered leashing?
Yes,
But
I
it's-
I don't want it.
You have the
All right.
blood in you.
Quick disrobe.
No.
Way to simply.
This is. I need to end this before this turns very bad very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yes.
All right. Sessions are going to be running on Wednesdays until Forsaken Throne ends. After that, it's going to move to Forsaken Throne. Info is below. We hope you have enjoyed this video, and we will see you all soon.
Get fucked.
Bye.
Bye.